The opinions expressed on the following audio program are solely those of the host and the guests. Burner Podcast is an independently produced, not-for-profit show and is not associated with the Burning Man organization or its subsidiaries. The views expressed are not representative of the entire Burning Man community and are presented here for entertainment purposes only. In short, calm the fuck down. It's just a podcast.
Episode number 6. Whew, what a weekend. It was my birthday, and I was definitely on a mission to prove that I am indeed a 22-year-old trapped in a 33-year-old's body. I'm not even going to get into the hurricane that was Friday night, but I stumble home at about 9 a.m., just in time to take an hour-long playa nap and then get right back up so I could set up for this little day drinking picnic at the park thing with like my mom and friends and family. So that was a lot of fun, even if just a little bit incredibly painful. Had a lot of great friends come with their families, came with their kids, people with their dogs. It was really, really wonderful. So around 8 p.m., I sneak in another 1 hour long playa nap. And then for Saturday night, I'd sent out the invite for some downtown douchebaggery at the Hard Rock Hotel, totally thinking that this would be a great opportunity to see a lot of my maybe less burnery friends. Come 10 p.m., like 20 of us have taken over some VIP section that we're totally not supposed to be in, and every single fucking person that's there is a burner. It was ridiculous. There's all these, the normal club goers. There's these girls in like little black dresses, and like, the men, in like the button-up shirts and the blue jeans, and then our group of weird fuckers in fake fur and tails and all kinds of amazing, beautiful costumes. And then back home again at 9 a.m. Yeah, man. Where I sneak in another 2-hour nap. I don't know if anybody's keeping up on the math on this part. And then back out for brunch. Sunday was really painful, and I'm not gonna lie, but it was such a great weekend. So much fun. I love my friends. I love you people. And I have no idea how my higher brain function is operating right now. I don't understand the science behind it, but I really should be in a coma, and I am not for some reason. So fuck you, aging. But the past few weeks, I've been thinking a lot about this exact thing that's happened in my life. Not the aging part, I could give two shits about that, but this other thing. Everything is just so much easier with burners. You put out an invite and they show up, and they bring shit, and they clean up afterwards. You go to a burner party where you don't know a single person, and by the end of the night, you have like 18 new friends. You come home and there's 6 new friend requests on your Facebook. Nothing I say is ever too weird. And this coming from a life where I had to censor the fuck out of myself everywhere I went for fear of being that weird guy. And I'm doing the quoties that you can't see because you're a listener, not a viewer, but a few months ago, I was in LA, and after I parked my car, I'm walking towards my friend's place where there's a Mystical Misfits fundraiser is happening. Really badass party, by the way. It's such a great time. And on my walk, I happen to start walking next to this pretty young lady, and somehow, immediately, we start improving that we had both just arrived on our interdimensional time travel machines. Not even a formal hello. It was just, hello, new random person I've never met before. Let's pretend we're on stage in drama class. And we just continue to riff. Neither of us breaking character, and we're just delivering our improvised dialogue with a totally straight face. And this goes on the whole 10-minute walk to the party. We get there. She goes on her way. I go on mine. We never see each other again. Never even got her name. It's just so wonderful to open up the party with that kind of experience. It's just, I don't know. I can't say enough about how much fun it is. And it's just like this with burners. I worry. I worry that it's been making me soft. Because, fuck, you get really, really spoiled. It's kind of hard to hit a burner party and then go out to a Muggle networking event. It's just incredibly draining. And people in the default world have a lot more walls up, a lot more judgments. Now, I know I'm dramatically generalizing here, and I know tons and tons of amazing people who aren't part of our community. And we're just illustrating a point here. I'm venting. It's for entertainment purposes, but you know what I mean, right? I know I'm not the only one that feels this way. I've had venting sessions with other burners about it. When I first discovered this community, I swore I didn't want to be one of those guys who lives, eats, and sleeps burner and doesn't shower. But give it enough time, it just sucks you in because it's just easier. Everything is easier. And I think part of that reason is that we are a community of introverts. We don't have the energy to deal with the superficial stuff. We don't want to talk about the weather. We want to dive right into the deep end, right the fuck away. And that's how I think a lot of us have found each other. A lot of crazy artists and innovators. And I think introvertedness is probably the most common character trait of the people in our world. So I've been literally forcing myself to go out and grab a drink alone every couple of days, just like at some local bar or lounge or something, just to stay in the practice of communicating with normal people. Listener, as much as I'd love to only hang out with weird fuckers like yourself, believe me, I do, I still need to communicate with the normies in order to, pay the rent. Socializing is a muscle. You got to work it out. And one of the best ways to do that is definitely to have interests that are not only in burner world, per se. Groups of friends that don't burn. I've been co-hosting the Crappy Awesome podcast for the past 4 years, and I direct hip-hop music videos. So I'm pretty connected in the hip-hop scene as a result. And today's guest, Marc Leglise, jumps out of airplanes. So he, as a result, is a part of a community of possibly clinically insane people that also like to jump out of airplanes. But, we'll just start talking about Marc. That was my little transition. I loved sitting down with Marc. It was especially refreshing after the intellectual ass-kicking I received from our previous guest. Producer Meg texted me right after this show just to ask how it went, and I just had to respond, "Isn't he just fucking adorable?" I challenge you, listener, nay, dare you, to not like Marc. And hand jobs for anyone who succeeds in said challenge. I love hanging out with this guy. We talked about fire spinning. We talked about that thing that happens after you survive your first burn where you get to feeling like totally invincible and you're ready to do other things. And I almost considered putting the kibosh on this interview and locking it away in a dark room somewhere because this fucker has a better radio voice than I do. I got over it though. Did some yoga, some woo-woo shit, journaled, and then decided not to murder Marc in his sleep. But let's just go ahead and jump right into it, kids. I go by, no pun intended, jump right into it. I go by Mr. Arash, even though nobody calls me Mr. Welcome to Burner Podcast.
On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rain. The first thing I met was the fly with the balls and the sky with no clouds. The heat was hot and the ground was dry, but the air was full of sound. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can't remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no name.
So you don't have like stuff that you do in the burner community that you refer to as work?
I've volunteered at a bunch of different events in various capacities, and I still wouldn't call that work.
Yeah.
I tend not to approach it as such because I try to draw the line for myself where once I'm in burner community event mode, yes, I'm happy to help out. That's kind of what I do anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't want to make it work.
Yeah.
Because work for me then sort of takes on this new persona of, all right, I'm business Mark and we're getting things done, and I'm not a very good volunteer person in that mode. I'm more like, no, why are you not doing your stuff?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Whereas volunteer mode needs to be much more inclusive. Oh yeah, don't worry, it's fine. We got this. It's okay.
Yeah. So. You may have been working very different events than I've worked, because when I've been out there, I mean, it is full on work mode. I mean, I had my early entry bracelet or whatever from the burn, and it was, I love it. It said, work hard, don't do stupid shit.
Right.
Kept it on forever. Until it fell apart.
There you go.
But yeah, you know, the regional events, you know, the experiences that I've had is that you definitely do get a lot of people who like just live for the work. Like for them, that is the fun part.
Sure. Well, yeah, and there's people who find that the work of the event is what gives them joy.
Yeah.
There's people who go there and decide that, no, I can't do any work at all. If I have any responsibility, then this is a blown weekend for me.
Yeah.
And I like to think of myself as kind of the in-between of those two polar opposites, where, for example, this year I was working on the shuttle team, since all of a sudden they had a bunch of new responsibilities. They had flatbed trucks. Everyone was unsure how it was going to go. And so...
And this was at Utopia, this San Diego burn.
Yeah. This was at Utopia. And this was the first time the transpo team had real responsibilities and a real team of any impressionable size.
Yeah.
And even before the event started, some of the community was kind of, uh-oh, we don't know how this is going to go. This doesn't sound like a good idea. Yeah. And so I had originally signed up when I thought the job was, we're just going to drive golf carts around and have fun and carry people. Yeah. And then I saw sort of the shitstorm brewing of, you know, oh, wow, okay, well, we really need to make sure this works well, and we need this to be good. And
let's talk about the shitstorm.
Okay.
Yeah, because we ended up having to have like a town hall afterwards, which I did not attend. But it was the first year that we've had that kind of shuttle system. And the reason, by the way, this subject I think is interesting is that we have people potentially listening that are working at other regionals, and they would like the lessons that we learned on our end to apply to theirs.
Sure.
So can you break down how the shuttle system was set up?
Sure. Well, let me preface this with, I was just a shuttle driver. There were far more dedicated people than me that were actually running the operation and making this happen.
And now you're the spokesperson.
Go figure. But let me also say that the whole reason that the shuttle system was what it was this year, this was the first year that participants in general were not allowed to drive their cars into the event proper. That's for a lot of reasons, but primarily by straight request from the tribe that hosts us on their land.
Do you know what the reason was by any chance?
I know there were several, and I'm not qualified to talk about the details.
Sure.
But I know that basically from last year, the 2013 event, after that one, the tribe said, okay, listen, guys, we've talked about parking before. We said it was an issue. You agreed it was an issue. This year was the worst ever.
Yeah.
There were cars blocking emergency vehicles. We had real issues here. This cannot happen again.
Yeah.
So,
I do remember it was not great to try to deal with like going around vehicles and you're trying to find your way to your car, and all of a sudden there's 3 more cars parked in the way, and
right.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a disaster. I do remember that.
Right. Well, and it's challenging as a participant just trying to get to where you're trying to go. It's even more so when you have red lights flashing and an EMT on board and you need to get somewhere now.
Yeah.
So that led to this year, okay, let's try and solve this problem. And that's where they rented out a bunch more space. And the idea was, okay, we're going to park extra cars elsewhere.
Yeah.
And we will shuttle people in and out as much as is needed.
And the shuttles were like flatbed how do you even describe those vehicles? I don't know.
Yeah, so
what they are.
they were two large flatbed trucks with a bunch of hay bales in the back.
There's only two.
There were only two.
I felt like there were more.
Well, that means we did our job well.
Yeah.
But, the issue was there was enough planning that went into it to figure out, okay, well, we do need two at least. We really need more, but budget.
Yeah.
But here's the resources we have available. We're going to do the best we can with them and ultimately get as many people to and from the event without bringing as many cars into the event as we can.
Yeah. So we'd say like out of the 3,000-ish people that were there, how many do you think were transported with the flatbeds? Rough ballpark. Like half? Less than half?
I mean, totally pulling a number out of my ass, I'll say half.
Yeah, yeah. We just want to get a general picture of what was happening.
Well, the real thing that happened that surprised everybody, even the leads all the way up the chain, was just the sheer number of people that this year showed up on Thursday, the opening day of the event.
Because it's an awesome fucking event. People
Right.
are like, I don't want to miss another day.
Right.
Yeah.
But this was the first year that it was so front-loaded.
Yeah.
And so after the event, people who were complaining about the shuttle system, all of the complaints really centered around Thursday.
Yeah.
Because that's when, oh my God, everybody's here right now.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we'll start driving them around. And so my first shift was Thursday night, starting at, I want to say 8 p.m., maybe 9 p.m. And my shift officially went until about 2 a.m. When I got my truck and I was one of the drivers, we also had people helping the load gear on and off and generally barking at folks. But when I got my shuttle and I drove up to the parking lot and there's this big crowd of people waiting and everyone's clearly very frustrated. They've been waiting out in the cold for hours now in some cases. And so I got out of the truck and I went over and I kind of yelled to the group, hey guys, thank you for your patience. We're on it. I just came on shift and I am not going to stop driving this truck until we have every single one of you off this mountain.
Nice.
And that seemed to bring a lot of relief because it seemed like people were kind of wondering, oh, are they just going to leave us out here? There hasn't been a shuttle in a bit. No, guys, we're going as fast as we are able to. We will get you off this mountain. We're not leaving you here.
And every time you're dropping people off, people are like, have all their things in the bins and the something is stuck on something. And
right. Yeah. And that was the real challenge with Thursday night because the people who come in Thursday, hey, guess what? They've got a lot of gear.
Yeah.
They're bringing the party.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Whereas once we got to Friday, it calmed down immediately. And Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it was an absolute breeze.
Yeah.
And people were really nice and thankful. And the shuttles were almost never overcrowded after Thursday.
It's interesting. So all the complaints really were about just that one day.
Sure.
Because when you read the stuff afterwards, it almost comes across like it was just a complete fucking disaster for 4 days straight. But it was that one day.
Well, because, the one day is when a lot of the frustrations happened. And then in the remaining 3 days, of course, there's one or two people who get frustrated by a random thing, right? In any system, any organization, you'll have some person who goes, oh, well, this wasn't good.
Yeah.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And let's take care of that. Let's fix it for next time. But the loud outcry, this was terrible. Why did we do this? Really centered around Thursday. And if nothing else, the unexpected rush of, oh, wow, we're expecting 3,000 people and 2,500 are here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, and the complainers, complainants, I don't know, God, is there like a nicer way to say that word? To the frustrated individuals.
Sure.
Defense. I understand that there were people that really were waiting like 10 hours to like get into the event. And even if that's being exaggerated, that's still holy shit. Even if it's half of that, that's holy shit.
Right. I mean, I hadn't heard 10, but I had heard 3 and 4.
Yeah.
And even that's insane.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's the thing is, it's not to say that their concerns are not valid.
Yeah.
They absolutely are. And I think because we had this first year of, okay, well, let's try this. It's an experiment, right? Just like the entire event is an experiment, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So now that we have that first year's data of, okay, what does really doing off-site parking look like? I think that the leads have a lot more going into the planning for 2015 to say, okay, so what can we improve? How can we make this better?
Yeah. And it's interesting because the thing about like everybody showing up on Thursday and not expecting that, I don't even know how you would predict something like that. And it really is one of those things where you just kind of have to get your ass kicked one year in order to start even figuring out what possible solutions could exist for next year. There's almost like no other way to do it but to do trial by fire.
In a sense, yeah. Especially because, again, this is an entirely volunteer staff. Yeah. So most people, as I understand it on the team, really stepped up, pulled their weight, did their part. Yeah. But at the same time, you do end up having people who are late for their shift or don't even show up for their shift. Yeah. And so people are left kind of scrambling, picking up the pieces and trying to make it work. And so then you get things like Gate having a not always working internet connection for the tickets, right? Yeah. Well, what are you going to do? So, like you said, you kind of have to go through the trial by fire, and it's always an improvement process.
How late did you end up working that Thursday night?
I think I dropped off my last passenger at 3:15 in the morning. And then drove my truck over to the parking spot, got it parked, got the whole thing done. I don't think I was asleep myself until about 4:30.
Oh, man.
But you know what? We got everybody off the hill. Yeah. So it's one of those things where, yeah, you're a volunteer. And this is where I personally cross into sort of the, well, yeah, but it is also kind of work in the sense that you do have a job to do. Yeah. And in this case, your job is get everybody that showed up into the event. Yeah. So if you're not done and it's 2 a.m., well, who else is going to do it? Yeah. Either you do it and help people out, or they're stuck there and they now have not waited for 3 hours and had a rough time. It's 2 a.m. on the mountain. They're freezing cold and they've been left there. One is a frustration. Another one is just an absolute explosion.
No, it definitely sucks because while you're sitting there waiting, like you have to also be in an alert state. So you're literally just sitting there watching your things, being ready to like run onto this flatbed.
Pretty much.
So how many other shifts did you work?
So in terms of official shifts working, I did 3 total. Okay. Driving the trucks around. I found it to be really fun, partially just because I like driving stuff, but because it let me help out with a new department where even going into it, we kind of knew, there might be backlash. We're not sure how people are going to take this. But taking that and going, okay, how can we make the best of this that we can, given the tools at our disposal?
Yeah. But, I feel like, and I could be wrong, but it feels like the frustration was definitely coming from people who have been the veterans who've been coming to the event for some time, and they're used to having a certain experience, whereas the newer participants who may not even have a frame of reference, I'm sure it was not fun or easy for them to sit there for however many hours they waited, but it wasn't as big of a deal to them.
Sure. At the same time, to some degree, I think that the veterans who we hear as being the loud complainers, in my opinion, might just have a better handle on how to make their voice heard in the community. So to me, whether it's someone who's been going to Utopia since the very beginning or someone for whom it's their very first year, when they tell me that they've been waiting on the hill for a shuttle for 4 hours and people have been cutting in front of them, it doesn't really matter what their seniority is. What matters is, wow, that's not a pleasant experience. Absolutely. And we should do something to make that better.
Yeah. Because, I mean, in fact, when you actually look at it from that angle, it's also entirely possible that a lot of the cutters were newer people. Because if you're walking through and you don't know anybody to wave their finger at you, then it's going to be a lot easier to cut in front of people, I imagine.
Sure.
Yeah. So what was the rest of the experience like as far as driving? Any other lessons learned that other regionals could potentially take into account, observations you had?
As far as the shuttles go specifically, I kind of feel like it's above my pay grade to give too much in terms of, well, I would do this and I would do that. And as a driver, I felt really good about the job that I did, and the response that I got from people. People were very thankful that the system existed. Even if they were sort of begrudging that they had to use it, they were generally happy that it was there. Yeah. And especially once we were during the actual event, having a real system that people recognized as, oh, I can get on that and go ride up the mountain. I don't have to walk if I'm that tired. Yeah. So, we had a lot of groups where it's a parent or two and a troop of children, right? Yeah, no adult wants to try and herd 10 kids up, down, and around the mountain. Yeah. Oh, we can take the shuttle to get up to the top, and then we can mill around? Yeah. Yes, let's do that.
You guys were driving people around in the middle of the event as well. It wasn't just from the entrance to...
Correct.
Yes, to their own camps.
Right. So as people were showing up, and Thursday especially, but also somewhat Friday, when it's the big rush of people showing up, then the focus was, no, we're getting people to and from the parking lot, period, full stop. Yeah. But once we got to, especially Saturday, there's not a lot of people going to the parking lot. Yeah. If someone needs to go, we'll give them a lift. But for the most part, we were doing a couple loops around the event, just trying to help people get around. Yeah. And that's where it got to be much more of just the fun kind of helping out. Oh, you want to ride? Yeah, hop on.
Yeah, I definitely had a section of my shift where I was an art curation co-lead, but I pretty much just became a taxi for like a good 2 or 3 hour period. And so people are just kind of like having a great time in the back area, and I'm just like, I'm working. Which is like that. I guess like that's the thing that I wanted to ask you. Like you're definitely. It sounds like you're big on that, is having that division between I'm working versus I'm playing. Am I correct in?
Sure, but I think that there can be a happy medium.
What's the happy medium?
I think at the end of the day, the key for me at least is to realize that, okay, maybe right now I'm in work mode, right? Actually, in some cases, it's very true. I actually phrased it more. I am on shift. That was a lot easier for me to say than I'm working. Yeah. If I'm working, then people around me are screwing up. But if I'm just on shift, then hey, I'm here, I'm helping, and I'm supposed to be driving. But if there's something else needs doing, I'm on it. Yeah. Because that to me phrases it more as, well, we're all here helping out. We're trying to make this event an event, right? The whole idea of participation.
Yeah, I agree. I'm definitely on the clock is what I use.
Sure, exactly.
Yeah, and it's that that's you have definitely people that are in some of the higher levels of leadership, and I have never experienced a subculture or scene that doesn't have these people. By the way, this is part of the normal hierarchy. And the people that I'm referring to are the ones that are really like they are addicted to the work. For them, working and running around and having a mission specifically is the equivalent to raging till 4 a.m. That is more enjoyable to them. Right. And we need those people.
Absolutely.
Because they're the ones, building this event to where it is.
Yeah, it wouldn't happen without them. No question about it.
The part that can get frustrating is I, for example, the way that I operate is I need to know when I'm on the clock and when I'm off the clock. If I'm off the clock, it doesn't mean that I'm flipping my middle finger at you and telling you to fuck off. But while I'm on the clock, I will enjoy myself. But I'm not like partying. Like there's still like a thing in the back of my head that knows I have to be responsible.
Right. Yeah. And that's, I think, where I draw the distinction, because just because you're in a mode where you need to be responsible doesn't mean that you can't be having fun at the same time.
Yeah, but it's still responsible fun though. It's not the same thing as Saturday night, everything's done, I don't give a fuck fun.
Sure, but now we're splitting hairs between different kinds of fun.
Yes.
Right? So
I have different kinds of fun.
Yeah. And so then it just turns into, like you said, are you on shift or are you not? Yeah. Well, are you having the responsible kind of fun? Are you having the let loose, it doesn't really matter fun? Yeah. Or are you, okay, no, now is not fun time. Now is work time. Go away. I am Mr. Work.
Yeah, I think the frustration that can come out of having to make those distinctions is that you do have a lot of people, especially those leadership types that I was talking about, where for them it is 24/7 work mode, and that is the fun for them. And for those of us who do need to have a more clear kind of like shift time, it can be frustrating to communicate because it feels like I'm being unappreciative, so I feel guilty, you know, bringing it up and telling them like, you know what, I need like a start time and end time, and then they're like, all right, you're off, and I go to do my own thing, but then everybody's working still.
Right.
So that's definitely a thing that I've been sort of navigating in this community and trying to figure out where my happy medium is, because the last thing you want to do is be that guy that doesn't just show up at all.
Right.
You know?
But, you know, I think that issue extends beyond just, are you in a burner style event, or even, let's just say, are you at your office job and you've got your lunch break and you grab your lunch and you go sit down and you eat quietly in peace, and then someone runs up to you and, oh my God, there's this thing and it, you know, fire, we need your help, right? And I think everybody needs at some point to deal with that level of, okay, well, what do I accept as, yes, that's a fire, let me help put it out right now, my sandwich can wait, versus what does it take to establish a boundary of, you know what, yes, I will get to that, give me 30 minutes, I want to eat in peace, I'll be right with you.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like I would be more apt to go and put out that fire, even if it's on my lunch break, depending on how big the fire is.
Right.
Really. If my hours are respected to some extent.
Sure.
Anyway, the reason I think that this exchange is interesting is because, again, I think that what I try to look for in the conversations that I have with you fascinating fucking people is the conversations that are happening all over our community in different places. And I think it's interesting to get sort of like different angles, and, you know, maybe have somebody in South Dakota who is like, oh, we're experiencing the same kind of thing when we try to do our parties. So, but yeah, I vote for, I would like a start and end time. I imagine, but that's part of what I was saying though about those leadership types, is that right now the community as where it is, like even Utopia this year, it's growing rapidly. I mean, it looks like the general consensus is we're going to stop it from growing for a little while. That seems to be the feeling in the community. We're not going to go up to 4,000 people next year. Like, let's just going to stop for now and kind of get our bearings. And I think part of what will come out of this situation is that we will learn lessons from things like the transportation issues. And people will little by little get better about schedules and shifts.
Right.
Because there are situations where those people who are really willing to put in that 17-hour workday, and no exaggeration, listeners, like there are people doing that, they will get little by little better at putting together the schedules, I think. It's a part of the growing thing. Can I say, by the way, side note, you have an amazing radio voice.
Well, thank you very much.
I think in a couple episodes I might retire. I'm just going to have you take over.
Oh, boy.
So there's usually a reason why the guest ends up being booked by producer Meg. And with you, she's really stuck on the you jumping out of airplanes thing.
Yeah, no, she would be.
Let's talk about that. When did you first decide that you're insane?
Sure. So, for the folks listening, if you want to fast forward, you can skip about 2 minutes, and we'll get to the good stuff. But to give you kind of the backstory, I grew up with a paralyzing fear of heights, which for people who end up becoming skydivers is actually a not uncommon story. But it was bad enough that if I looked over the balcony from the 4th floor, I'd have to find a nice quiet corner to go cry in for a while. Wow. It just, really nope, I don't need to see that. No, going away.
Do you think that's like a genetic thing? Did you have a traumatic experience?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I just know that it was always a very challenging thing for me to look at heights in any kind. So several years back, actually before my first burn, I'd finally decided, okay, you know what? I need to do a skydive. Just to prove to myself that I can do it and I can survive and I will continue on living.
Okay.
And that'll be great.
What gave you that idea? Why couldn't you just go ride a roller coaster or something?
Oh, I'd done roller coasters. Whoop-de-doo.
They're
strapped in by engineers. No, they're not that crazy.
Yeah.
But
I want to go further.
Falling with nothing attached to you except a piece of nylon. Oh boy, that's another level. So I finally did it. I signed up for a skydive with a few of my friends and went and did it. Got some pictures of my tandem jump. I was really stoked on it. It was super fun. And just kind of, okay, cool. Yeah. That was great. Check. Done. And then about 6 months later, I went to my first Burning Man in 2011, which will date me as a very newer member of the group. But
don't worry, no pressure.
There we go. Yeah. So I went to my first burn and had, as everybody, an eye-opening, spirit-opening, enlightening journey. And
one That's of the beautiful and amazing.
Yeah. To not overdo that part, I looked up and saw the canopies in the sky of the skydivers at Burning Man. And that was when I looked up and I pointed and I said, okay, that. I need to do that. That looks like a lot of fun. And came back from my first burn, processing and everything, and kind of even put that thought on the back burner, but just, oh, wow, this whole burner community thing. Whoa. and then started trying to research, okay, well, what else in the world is like this? And then found Utopia was coming up in October and went, ooh, okay. So I got my first year camp together and we went to Utopia.
So you're local. You've been in San Diego.
I've been in San Diego for 11 years, 12 years.
Okay.
Something like that. Long enough.
Yeah.
But it took Burning Man for me to find Utopia and similar things like that. That was my first big anything of any kind. But it was the first Utopia I went to in 2011 where I much more got to appreciate the sense that people really were participants. I mean, at Burning Man, the idea was there, but by 2011, it had already gotten big enough that there was some level of, well, I'm not one of the cool kids. Yeah. The cool kids are waving fire around and they're building these giant art pieces. And I'm just kind of here giving my thumbs up. But Utopia was the first time that I really looked at the whole concept as, oh, wow, these people that are waving fire around are just like me. They just found a thing that was really fun and they went for it. Yeah. And these people that are making great art pieces, some of them are just as nerdy, introverted as I am. They just decided, yeah, why don't I make this thing and bring it?
They're mostly nerdy and introverted.
As I've been finding out, yeah. But so it was basically that first burn and that first Utopia that kind of got my brain really thinking, okay, so what could I do? And to tangent briefly away from the skydiving, I also ended up getting into the fire group community around San Diego, and they're an amazing crowd. Yeah. Really welcoming, and I haven't been hanging out with them so much lately, but they are a really solid crew, and it's a lot of fun to go hang out with them and wave fire around and learn that it actually doesn't have to be that scary. You just need to learn what to do. Yeah,
no, I'm very curious about that, because that was Meg's second text that said, also spins fire like a boss. So I mean, it looks like the two are very much connected. Your attraction to something that will kill you by falling or by setting you on fire.
Sure. Well, and so I guess let me talk about the fire first, because that's really what I got into first. Yeah. That stemmed from, again, my first Utopia, where I distinctly remember Saturday night, I just planted my ass in front of the fire stage and put my chin in my hands and went, okay, let's watch. And just got to see everybody having an absolute blast, just having fun. Also, they were waving fire around. Yeah. But really, they were sharing with the community, hey, look at this. This is kind of cool, huh? Look, it's fun.
What do you think the attraction is? I've been trying to dissect that from the minute I saw it.
With the fire specifically?
Yeah, I haven't found an answer.
that's a really long-winded answer for people that are way more
Have at it.
involved than I am. Short version, I think the very, very simple attraction just stems from at nighttime at Burning Man and nighttime at Utopia, it's cold. Period. Yeah. And humans go, ooh, fire. It's warm. Oh, wow. And it's pretty. Yeah. So it's one of those things it doesn't take an inebriated state to appreciate. Yeah. It doesn't take skill to appreciate. It just takes taking a minute, sitting there and watching.
What is the weapon of choice that attracted you immediately?
For me personally, swords. Yeah. I've been a martial artist for a long time. Not to say that I'm very great with swords, but I know enough to wave it around and not look like a complete idiot. Yeah. So I got my fire sword first. I eventually did some work with poi, and then
poi's the one on the chain or string. Or whatever.
Yeah, that's like the two balls on chains that you hold in each hand.
Yeah, see, that's the one that attracts me.
So again, then you should go for it.
Trying to figure out why. Like
it doesn't matter why.
I want to know why. I want to dissect the psychological reason. I can't get my brain to stop doing that.
Then you have to start practicing first. Yeah. And that will help you unlock why it is that you're attracted to it.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, I got into a bunch of this fire stuff and really had fun with it. And that helped me see that, oh, wow, it may look dangerous and scary. And people who haven't done it think, oh, whoa, it's fire. Wow, really dangerous. But as you get into it, you learn, well, no, there's safety procedures and there's things that we do to make sure that we're not going to light ourselves on fire, actually. Yeah. And that there's ways to do this without endangering yourself or people. Now, let's not kid ourselves. Yeah. It's still fire that you're waving around in front of your face. Yeah. So it
on
is
a sword.
Or on a staff or in a hoop or whatever. It is still very much possible to burn yourself. Yeah. And the worst thing to do is to launch a tool lit into a crowd.
Oh, God.
Which, thank you to Kurt Benedetto for not being mad at me for hitting him one time.
Oh, my God. You hit Kurt.
He was very cool about it. He dodged the worst of it. So, it is...
Did he see... Oh, I gotta ask. Did he see it coming at him?
Oh, yeah. It was a big toss with the staff. It was a complete fuck up. He saw it coming. He just did this little dodge. He looked like such a seasoned pro. Yeah. Like, newbie.
Yeah, because listeners who don't know Kurt, obviously, if you're from another region, he's really funny. And I'm just immediately I saw his facial expression as you're describing it, so that's why I'm kind of laughing.
Well, and he's especially good at delivering excellent dry wit.
Yes.
Without batting an eyelash.
Yeah.
And yeah, he basically handed my staff back to me with not even a word, just a look of like, yeah, you better not do that again.
Yeah.
Okay, Kurt, I'm sorry.
And I imagine there's also people who kind of wish you did hit him.
There's all kinds.
Yeah. So continue.
But anyway, so I got into fire, and that helped show me, wow, I can really be a part of this community. There's a group here. There's this whole discipline of activity that I had never thought even existed. So that for me unlocked the idea of, wow, so I could really kind of do anything.
Yeah. Let me ask something about the fire spinning techniques. What was something that you learned as far as a safety technique or just a handling technique that was the most surprising to you? Something you would have never even thought to think about until it was shown to you that this is a thing you should pay attention to or this is the way you do it?
I mean, to be honest, I could list basically the entire tree of things that any fire performer needs to do because all of it was very new to me.
Give us one interesting
I'd say
one.
The two that still stick with me, especially because I see newer people ignoring or not knowing about either of these. The first one is the idea of spinning off. Okay. So when you're playing with fire, you have a tool that has a wick or maybe multiple wicks that are basically Kevlar. You soak that in, typically, white gas or commonly Coleman camp fuel. It burns very clean, not too hot. It's a really good piece. However, if you then just go straight from dipping it to lighting it, and then you start spinning it around, there's still fuel left on there that isn't really soaked in, and so it flies off.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the most common thing is, okay, you have dipped, now you go spin off. So before you light your tool, you go off somewhere far in the distance away from people and away from actual fire, and you wave your tool around a bit. If you've got poi, you just spin them as fast as you can. If you've got a hoop, you wave it around. If you've got a staff, well, if you've got a staff, you can do cooler things. But point being, you get that extra fuel off, so that then when you go light up, you're not causing a hazard.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of like when you wash a dog and they start like shaking their head, getting all the excess.
Right. Let the dog shake outside.
Yeah.
Same idea.
Brilliant. Okay.
So that was one. And the other one was, I knew that this was kind of a thing, but I didn't have an appreciation for just how much this was. No, seriously. Have a safety. And what that means is have another person who is not lighting things on fire, who ideally has a safety blanket or a fire extinguisher or something. Their job is to watch you. And if any part of you does catch on fire, they yell at you what part of you is on fire. So they might yell, leg, leg. Because any experienced fire performer of, even a couple of months, oh, my pants caught on fire. Okay, just, tap, 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 tap. Okay, it's out. It's fine.
Are you sure you're not just a liar? Dry humor.
Okay.
Liar, pants on fire. Go ahead. So
the whole thing is to have...
You're welcome, listeners.
So the whole thing is to have someone else watching you. Especially because if it's really cold out, maybe you're wearing several layers, and maybe it's your back that catches on fire. It's, a part of your shirt or something. You're used to waving around these very, very hot things very close to you, so feeling heat on your back is normal.
Yeah.
But if you just have someone there who yells, hey, back's on fire, right? Or even better, comes and tackles you with the safety blanket, that's really the number one thing you need to stay safe, is just a third party who keeps their eyes out.
Those are both things I had no idea were things.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
So those are really the two biggie. I mean, there's a lot of others, but those are the two that if you just have a safety and you be conscious about your fuel and spinning it off, then you mitigate, I'm going to totally make up a number, 90% of the injuries that happen.
Yeah. It's okay. 82% of statistics are made up right on the spot.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how many spinners can one safety, I don't know, babysit? What's the word? Watch.
Sure. Watch. It depends is the real answer. From an official regulation standpoint, I believe the answer is one.
Wow.
One safety, one person.
Wow.
Now, that gets adjusted because a lot of times you've got a lot of people who want to light up and not a lot of people who want to sit there in the cold with holding a blanket.
Yeah.
Especially because if a safety is taking their job seriously, then when people in the audience come up to talk to them, they're like, listen, let me talk to you in a little bit. I need to focus right now.
Yeah.
You get safeties who don't do that. They don't pay attention. Oh, there's a cute girl next to me. Oh, I'm totally going to talk to her. Oh, yeah, they're on fire. Oh, I'm totally watching them. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is you get different venues that have different danger levels, right? So if you have a big crowd of spectators and maybe the space that you're in isn't that big, or maybe there are flammable things nearby, there are guidelines and rules about clearances and all this kind of stuff, but ultimately it comes down to, okay, I'm the safety for this performance. Can I actually keep this place safe? If someone does get lit on fire, am I going to notice it, and am I going to be able to put it out before anybody gets hurt?
Yeah.
So a safety may be able to cover 2 or 3 spinners. Once you get above 3, no, now you're just lying to yourself about how good you are.
That's fascinating. I've never, I don't think I've ever noticed the safeties.
That means they're doing their jobs.
Just hiding in the crowd. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. And I mean, like, immediately my mind's going to, was it a the year before last at Utopia, where that was one night that I did end up at the main stage. Well, we don't call it a main stage. Where there was, I mean, it looked like there was like 20 people spinning up there. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was insanity. And I'm kind of going back in my mind's eye and trying to imagine how many people in that crowd were the safeties.
Well, so if you're ever at an event and you're trying to spot them, you look for the black, what look like, maybe beach towels.
Interesting.
Right. It's actually a fabric called duvetine. It's basically cloth or cotton that typically has been treated with a fire retardant chemical. So the whole idea of, let's say, there is a fire, we need to put it out. Basically, the safety takes the blanket and smothers the fire.
Yeah.
Right. Now, in professional shows where the performers have a set that they're doing, oftentimes they'll finish their routine before the tool is done burning. And so they'll bring their tool over to a safety, and the safety will help them put it out on the spot.
Yeah.
But at burner events, it's a lot more casual. Much less often do you get, a set routine to a specific set of music. It's more just people having a jam.
Yeah.
And then they'll just keep spinning until their tool goes out, and then, okay, I'm done. Next.
How much does a safety blanket cost?
$10.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not cheap.
It varies based on where you get it, but no, I mean, honestly, they're not that expensive. And it's one of those things that, just like a lighter, you'd think that any fire spinner would have a lighter.
Yeah.
But it's one of the most common questions you hear at any fire gathering ever. Hey, who has a lighter? Same thing with a safety blanket.
That's what I was just going to ask.
You think everyone's got it. Yeah. But you actually do need to have a few responsible people who remember, oh, right, I should bring my blanket.
Have you been in situations where like a group of people that wanted to spin couldn't because there was not enough blankets, enough safeties?
Yes. And I've seen them go both ways. Most commonly, and what I like to see happen is, hey, there's plenty of people who want to spin. We only have so many safeties. Dude, just wait your turn.
Yeah.
And that's very common. You see that a lot where people, even the spinners themselves, will just know, oh, wow, well, we got 3 people up there and only 2 people with blankets. So, okay, I'm just going to wait till they're done. Yeah. Right. But I've also seen cases where there's just 15 people lit up and, oh, there's a blanket laying over there on the ground with no one near it.
Yeah.
And that is where it starts making me nervous. That's where I kind of show my colors as not being the cool guy. I'm more of the dad going, guys, where's the safety? Let's not burn everything down.
Yeah. Okay, so that is really, really fascinating stuff. So you start spinning. You get the swords. You're getting into that. That we're flashing back here to what we were saying earlier. So that made you start to think like, all right, I can just do anything.
Pretty much.
Yeah. How long did you spin before you decided you can do anything?
Well, I've always been able to do everything. No, I'm not sure what the real answer is as far as a time frame goes, because as anybody who's been to the burn once realizes, the decompression coming back takes months, if not years, just to try and process everything that even just happened in your own head. So
I had that, what you're describing, that feeling of I can do anything. Like I had always described, like I would see people that had been to Burning Man and there was this, for lack of a better description, a chip on their shoulder. Not like a cocky asshole one, but like almost like I can handle anything. Because you've been out there, it has kicked your ass in every way that you didn't think was possible. So yeah, when I came back, I ended up getting more active, more physical, because I'm like, oh, fuck it, I can handle anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it beyond just, oh, I can do anything, it's to take that basic idea of, oh wow, I was out there for a week and the desert really kicked my ass, and hey, look, I'm still here and I have all 10 fingers and all 10 toes, and okay.
And it was a blast.
Right. And so then it's not even just the thought of, well, I can do anything. It's, okay, well, if I could do anything, what would I do? Because especially, I think in modern society, we're brought up kind of in a funnel trajectory. Go this way, do this, do that, be this kind of person. And once you have that little epiphany of, well, I could actually do anything I chose.
Yeah.
It might take a lot of work to get to be able to do that thing, but I could. what do I want to do? And so that for me is what opened up the larger path of, okay, well, if I want to go jump out of a plane right now, no, you can't. Stop, sit down. There's some things you got to do, right? Just as, I want to start lighting things on fire. Well, if you just start doing that, probably the police are going to show up and take you to jail, right? There are steps you need to take along the way, but just opening your brain to that level of, well, okay, I want to do that thing off in the distance. Let's figure out what it takes to do that.
burnerpodcast.com.
All right, kiddos. Short little break, some short announcements. March 1st is the SD Cap Town Hall and elections. If you're in the San Diego community, live voting for board of directors, as well as information and speakers from a number of local San Diego projects. Burner Podcast should be there. I'm totally telling Alpi that she's going to be there with me. She doesn't know about this yet, but I'm thinking about just sitting there and drinking for the next 6 hours. So that should be fun. That's going to be noon to 6 p.m. at CoLab. If you're in San Diego, even if you're not a regular part of the community, you just happen to be around, you should definitely come by and meet some cool people. March 7th is the XSL Poetry Slam and Cook-Off. Compete against each other with drinks, food, and performances, evaluating who might be the next Rookie of the Year, Best Shit Talker, Most Fashionable Player, and of course there's the Cook-Off itself. There's an event page for it on Facebook, so search for that if you're in San Diego. The XSL Poetry Slam and Cook-Off. March 6th through the 8th is Deep Aura Gathering. That's in the Mojave Desert in California. If you look up Deep Aura, that's one word, and then the word gathering on Facebook, it's pretty easy to find. Looks like a bunch of theme camps are getting out there in the middle of the desert and playing a bunch of fucking music and having a bunch of fun. So check that out. That's March 6th through the 8th. March 27th through the 30th is the Desert Hearts Spring Festival. 72 hours of house, techno, and love. Really love. Okay. Sometimes, the hippie shit. And that's going to be at the Los Coyotes Indian Reservation. I don't know why I pronounced it like it was Spanish, but Desert Hearts is getting crazy, crazy attention these days. I mean, you've got to be living under a rock if you're not hearing about these festivals. Resident Advisor is calling it the Can't Miss event. It's really just some amazing shit. For more info, visit you don't have to do the www. That's just old force of habit. Go to deserthearts.us. So deserthearts.us is in Sam. More info there at the website. All right, back to Mark and his irritatingly perfect radio voice.
You are dusty and beautiful.
When you started to spin fire, did you find yourself a mentor, or did you just start showing up to Wednesdays at Crown Point where everybody's spinning?
Well, so at very, very first, I basically was doing it on my own with a couple of friends from my group we had all done our first burns at the same time. So we kind of started getting into it just on our own. First couple times I lit up my fire sword was just in the street outside of my house. Yeah.
And the police were not called.
They were not.
Okay. Success.
We were okay. We did not burn anything down, and to date have not ever. But, eventually, I think it was actually my second Utopia, before I had ever picked up a staff, I found a guy, or actually I got dragged to a staff class at Utopia. And that opened my eyes a lot more. It was taught by a guy named Ryan Parks, who, when he's in burner mode, calls himself Riff. He has a beautiful system for teaching beginners the basics of a staff and how to think about it conceptually, so that as you're learning the basics and just really getting started, you don't let yourself get discouraged when you screw up. Because you're going to screw up. It's a new skill. Of course you're not an expert at it yet. You just picked it up. And so he's got a really, really good way of breaking that down and saying, okay, you dropped it. Pick it back up. So he served as my mentor for quite some time, and that really helped me do fire a lot more, and put on at least good enough of a show that Meg says that I can spin like a boss. There's plenty of other spinners out there who'd look at me and go, oh, that's so cute. He's so new.
She didn't clarify the boss of which kind of business. I mean,
sure. There
the boss of a hot dog stand.
Exactly. But, what I found is that the community is in general very welcoming. And it extends far beyond fire, I should mention. It's really only within the burner community that group gets known as the fire people. It's more commonly referred to as the spinners or the flow artists. Yeah. Because once the fire's out, well, what do? Well, it's still a tool that you can wave around. And the more you get into it, the more you realize that the fire is actually kind of a gimmick, if not a challenge for you personally. Okay, well, I can do this unlit. Can I do it on fire?
Yeah.
And can I do it in front of a crowd without screwing up? Right? Yeah. But the discipline runs a lot deeper than just playing with fire. The fire is just kind of a fun addition to it to add flair.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know how to frame a photograph, it's not like we can just hand you a $5,000 camera and you're going to start shitting out gold.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's some basics you still got to get in there. So you're moving forward on this journey of getting better with fire. And it sounds like you started to gravitate towards the staff after you got used to the swords.
Yeah. So, I mean, swords I still play with. They're really fun. But staff I picked up once I started learning from Riff.
Yeah.
I was very impressed when I actually saw him perform. What I realized is that there are so many very, very talented spinners, even just in the San Diego crew.
Yeah.
Even just looking at people who play with staves exclusively, there's a lot of very talented people. But while a lot of folks can pull off very complicated and difficult tricks, what I saw Riff stand out on was his basics. Just being able to spin the staff very quickly, very cleanly, without dropping it, without losing it, while making transitions, while moving around, while interacting with the audience.
Yeah.
His basics were so solid on a level that everybody else clearly would point to him and go, oh yeah, that guy's Obi-Wan.
Yeah, yeah.
The rest of us are good, but that's Obi-Wan.
What is it that you like with the staff more than the swords?
I think the staff makes it more of a dance, in my opinion, and I'm not a dancer.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of kid who'll stand at the back of the room and watch everybody dancing.
Yeah.
And the swords for me are a lot of play, but the staff is where, for the first time ever, I feel like, oh wow, I'm dancing and it's fun. This is weird. So that's what really drew me to it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go to skydiving. When does that come into play here?
So I finally told myself after my first Utopia that, okay, I want to try and do the solo skydiving thing. I want to start this and see what happens. Yeah. And so then it was February the following year. I finally signed up, took my first class, and got into it, and almost unexpectedly realized that was my thing.
Yeah.
In a way that truly I never would have thought. Especially coming from the kid who, if you look over the ledge of the balcony and you get that terrified, going to a point where the idea of jumping out of the plane is not just something that you look forward to, but it's a stress relief. Yeah. It's, oh wow, work was really tough today. Oh, I can't wait till Saturday. Saturday we get to go jumping.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to having the earth hurtling towards my face at some insane speed that I can't calculate.
120 miles an hour.
120 miles an hour.
When you're getting started. You can go faster once you get better, but...
Yeah.
No, but the thing for me that made a big difference is that the ground is very far away. So I personally draw a very big distinction between skydiving, where here in San Diego we jump from usually 13,000 feet, versus something like base jumping, which admittedly gets you the coolest videos in the world, but you're very, very, very close to the ground. And
so that's scarier.
Yes, for me, it's a world of difference.
Yeah.
Because when you're base jumping, you have one parachute. And if it doesn't work, then thanks for playing life. Press restart. Whereas skydiving, you have your main parachute, you pull it. Oh, it's not quite there. It's not quite there. Okay, there it is.
Yeah.
Well, okay, you just lost 500 feet, but it doesn't matter. You're still 5,000 up in the sky.
Yeah.
You're okay. Oh no, panic! The main parachute isn't working. Don't panic.
Yeah.
You can cut away the main, pull your reserve parachute, and the reserve parachute flies out of your back.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine.
Has that happened to you?
Not yet.
Okay.
Knock on wood,
Yeah.
I have never had to use my reserve parachute.
How common is that?
Fairly.
Why?
Because problems happen. It's an issue of statistics, right? If you say that a certain problem or bug is only going to happen 1% of the time.
Yeah.
Awesome, that's not bad.
Yeah.
1%. But once you make 100 skydives, well, there's a pretty good chance you've already hit that one.
Yeah.
Right?
It's almost like the more you do it, the more confident you get, the more the anxiety starts to like, oh fuck, it's going to be this time.
It's true. It happens. It happens. But, we have a lot of safety procedures, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I mean, it's literally a 5-hour ground school that they walk you through before you do your first one.
You can, what? Give us a couple of them, kind of like the fire spinning that we were talking about. What are a couple of things that were really interesting to you that is not something that even crossed your mind as a thing that a skydiver has to pay attention to?
Well, the biggest thing is that you checking your gear multiple times every time you go jump, right? Even if it, that it's packed well, that you just got it out of your car, everything's okay. You don't just throw the parachute on, get on the plane and go. There's different parts of the system that you check every single time just to have a look-see.
Yeah.
And it's basically a check for human error.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things where just being forgetful about one thing. Oh, your leg strap isn't routed correctly. Well, if you don't notice it, then you're going to fall out of your parachute. Your parachute may be nice and inflated, but you're hurtling towards the ground.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's a lot of little things just to catch human error.
Just right now with that, you disqualified me. I am horrible at that, at trying to like recheck things. When I was like like elementary school or middle school, whatever, like when you have to write a paper, and do you remember like if your teachers made you do this where you have to give them 3 or 4 different drafts before you turn in your final paper? I detested the idea of redoing the same thing so much that I would write my final paper and then I would write one with mistakes and stuff in there on purpose and turn in that one and have the teacher like mark off like, you need to do this. I'm like, yeah, okay. So I'd like do those things, but the final paper I turned in was always like the one that I wrote first.
Right.
And then computers really helped a lot with that. I could just do click save as. So I imagine, I would like to think that we have a lot of listeners that are immediately disqualified. Did you have to learn to do that, or is that something that's already innate in your personality that you do have the patience to check things and be more detail oriented?
Well, so I personally tend to be fairly detail oriented. In work life, I'm a programmer, so I'm very used to things like, oh, you left off a semicolon.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a stupid mistake, but no, really, it did make the difference.
Yeah.
So I'm already kind of conditioned for that, but I definitely did have to learn sort of the skydiver mentality to, no, seriously, just check it again. It's not a big deal. It doesn't take a lot of time. Just look. Okay, yep, this is all good.
Have you caught things?
Yes.
After like a second or third check?
After a second check, yes.
What did you catch?
I botched my chest strap. So when you're hooking on a parachute rig, there's a chest strap and 2 leg straps.
Okay.
If any one of the 3 is not done correctly, you could fall right out of your harness.
Wow.
And the chest strap I had botched in what is actually a very common mistake. I caught it right as the instructor across from me, who was not even my instructor, he was just, on the plane with someone else. He was, reaching his hand up to point at my chest strap as I looked down and I went, oh God, fix.
Ooh, that just gave me chills.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
And so that's the kind of mentality you have to develop is, of course it's right.
That was a
but
second check.
Still, check it again, because all it takes is one mistake.
Yeah. And that was a second check.
Yeah.
So
also, disclaimer,
yes,
I was very new.
Okay.
So now one check and I've never missed anything.
Yeah.
But I am going to continue checking 3 times on every jump because you know what? Maybe I will miss it until the second or third time.
No, Mark, listening to this podcast could potentially save somebody's lives.
Exactly.
That's what we do. I am saving lives with Burner Podcast. This is what we're doing here.
That's the spirit.
It's important shit. So no, that's incredible. Do you think you would have checked that again had the instructor not noticed it?
Well, I know that I would have checked it again just because it's part of the series that you do. I like to think that I would have caught it.
Yeah.
I want to think that I would have caught it. I don't know. But it was caught. I'm safe. And to date, I have 329 skydives under my belt with never a problem.
It's amazing.
And now, for people who've never done it before, that sounds like a really big number.
That sounds like a huge number.
Yeah. Once you are actually in the sport as someone who's doing this, that's actually not very big. 300 is, okay, cool. We can be fairly confident that you kind of know what you're doing and you're not going to kill yourself and others, most likely. But you really don't start being considered a solid member of the sport until you're up towards more of the 1,000 range or more. Wow. The people who've been in this for a long, long, long time, and I mean decades long, they have 10,000 jumps. Some even have 20,000 jumps. Oof. I mean, if you make it your living, then you rack them up quickly. Yeah.
I mean, it's not the size, it's how you use it.
Exactly.
At least we'd like to think.
Exactly.
How does it become a living? Does it become a living from becoming an instructor? Is there competitive sports where you're being sponsored?
There's both. Mm-hmm. And becoming an instructor is the most common route. And it's not an unexpected one because what I've been saying lately is there are only 2 kinds of skydivers. There are poor skydivers and there are soon-to-be poor skydivers. Because the real downside to the sport is it really does cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Tandems are about $200. Once you get into it and you're certified, it's only $25. But then you'll go jump 4 times in one day and you just had a $100 day.
A tandem is when you have somebody strapped to you.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, a tandem skydive is, I'm not in charge, there's a professional strapped to my back, I'm just here for the ride. Yeah. Which I recommend that everybody do once.
Well, you have to, don't you? Before you can jump on your own?
In some places, no, actually. It is possible to skip the tandem skydive and go straight to the solo jump course. I have friends who've done it.
Yeah.
I personally don't recommend it, mainly because I feel that a tandem skydive is something that you can only really experience once, the first time.
And these places that you're referring to, these aren't like Eastern Europe. Like you can do that here.
I typically recommend Skydive San Diego. I've been jumping there for the last 3 years. They run a very tight operation.
They really don't beat around the bush on the name, do they?
No. Well, and, the age of Google. Yeah. It's not worth beating around the bush.
Sure.
It's Skydive and it's name of town. But they run a really tight operation. They are extremely safety conscious. They have an excellent record. And that is one of the drop zones that are around where you don't have to do a tandem jump. Oh. You can go straight to the first jump course. And their instructors are top-notch. They run you through everything. It's a 5-hour ground school. But then keep in mind, once you get on the plane for your first solo jump, you do have an instructor on either side of you. And they're hanging on.
Yeah.
Now, they're not strapped on. They're not clipped in like a tandem. But they're holding on to you. And
holding on how?
So you typically are wearing a student jumpsuit that has little grippers on your arms and on your legs. So they have handholds on you that they actually grab onto. And until you, the very first time skydiver, pull your parachute, it inflates and it pulls you away from them. Only then will they let go.
Interesting.
And then, okay, you're on your own. Land it. Please don't die.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm immediately thinking about like accidentally not letting go fast enough and that being like another disaster.
Letting go of?
If you're one of the instructors.
Oh, no. If you're an instructor and you're qualified to go with first-time jumpers, no, letting go in time is not the issue. You're way more worried about the child with a boat of a canopy that's in front of you that you're hanging on to, and you're going, please don't die, please don't die, please don't die, please don't die, please don't die.
God, that sounds miserable. What do you think about that? It feels like there should be a law that like the first couple of them should be tandem.
There's not a law about it. It's typically a judgment call on the part of the drop zone, usually based on the geographic conditions. So to give you an alternate example, in Hawaii, they have a drop zone out there, and they do require at least one tandem jump.
Interesting.
Mainly because conditions are different.
Yeah.
The landing area is smaller, the winds are a lot crazier, it can get more complicated quickly. San Diego, we're really blessed because we have a beautiful spot where the wind is very consistent, almost always from the same direction. Landing out there, we just get spoiled. It's very, very easy for us there.
You know what? You're right. I'm stuck on the idea that there has to be a tandem jump because that's what I've always been told, which I'm certain it's a fairly common, is the word misconception? I don't know. But I imagine people who have never even considered the idea of letting the earth hurtle towards them at 120 miles per hour. You think like the most logical thing is to have training wheels, but when you think about it, like really, like what else is happening? Like you're understanding wind conditions, you're pulling the strap, and if it's mild conditions and it's kind of you're going straight down, what else can the instructor do really than to just kind of watch you and make sure that you don't go splat?
Right. I mean, you know, I am not an AFF instructor. AFF is the acronym for Accelerated Free Fall. That's the initial course to get you to your solo rating. So I really can't speak to the level of detail of all the things they got to worry about. But ultimately, it comes down to, hey, listen, dude, you're the one who wants to put on this parachute.
Yeah.
And the instructor who actually teaches the ground school, they are evaluating the students to figure out, okay, do we let this guy jump or let this girl jump?
Yeah.
And I've seen them turn people away where they told someone, you know, hey, listen, we're really glad you came out here and we really do want you to succeed with this. We're not putting you on a plane today.
Huh.
You should come back tomorrow or maybe next weekend and you should redo this course. And we don't want you to really take this hard because we know that it can be a bit of an ego blow, but you're not ready.
What do they use as a measurement of someone not being ready?
It's a judgment call, plain and simple. But they're looking for things like, is the person paying attention? Have they been absorbing the information that we've been throwing at them for the last 5 hours, right? Now, no one's going to remember all the things you told them over a 5-hour course, but the course is structured specifically so that you'll retain the important parts.
Wow.
And if you're not getting the basic things, like what is the order in which you actually reach to pull your parachute, right? If you can't grasp those things right away, it's not a big deal, but it means, hey, it's not time for you to get on the plane yet.
Yeah.
You need to revisit this a bit more. You need to actually be ready to make that jump.
Do they tend to, I mean, it seems like they would err on the side of safety. Like if there's like the smallest doubt that this person's ready, I would imagine that seems like a, if you've seen people like react negatively to that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, just like in the burner community, the skydiving world gets a huge cross-section of people from all walks of life. I have yet to meet any two people at the drop zone that are the same person.
Yeah.
Even if, quite literally, they both serve in the same division of the armed forces, in the same platoon, no, they're still not the same person.
Wow.
So you get a lot of different personalities out there. And yes, absolutely. There's people whose egos can't take the blow of, you need to retake this course.
Yeah.
Right? But that's okay. You know what? If your ego can't take, hey, you need to learn a bit more first, then no, skydiving's not the sport for you.
Yeah.
Because we're not out here to help you kill yourself.
What do you think the most common thing is that attracts people to skydiving?
There's a few common themes. There's not really a most. But I would say that one of the really common threads is everyone makes the assumption that skydivers are adrenaline junkies.
Yeah.
It's a very easy assumption to make, especially because if you go do a skydive, oh my God, the adrenaline rush, right? But that does taper off as you do it more and more. And I think one of the common themes among people who really stick with it as a sport is it's not so much about the adrenaline rush. It's often about the fact that you're flying or, okay, falling with style.
Yeah.
But your arms and legs are wings. And the way you move your body in the sky really affects the way you fall. And you can get really good at flying through the air. Yeah. You can also flap around like a potato chip, but, you know, it really is one where the more you apply yourself and the more you try and learn about your own body mechanics, the better you get. So it really pays to spend the mental energy to figure out, okay, how can I do this better?
Yeah.
And just like with fire, realizing, hey, I just started this skill. I'm not a world-class competitor right now. I'm a toddler learning to ride a tricycle.
Yeah.
You know, so it takes a build-up, but you can get there.
Yeah. So at what point did you find that it did break your fear of heights?
I would honestly say after my first couple of solo jumps, but you know, there's a certain level of nervousness that you get before any jump. And I would say that there are 3 very specific points in time that had similar levels of nervousness for me. One was obviously the very first jump. Oh my God, what? We're going to do this? The door is open. It's really windy. Oh my God, it's really cold. Ah! The second one was the first solo jump. Oh wow, I actually have to pull this parachute, and oh wow, there's no more instructors now. I have to land this thing. Oh my God. The third one was the first actually solo jump. So the AFF course is 7 jumps, each of which you're with 1 or 2 instructors. Once you've passed that course, you are now solo rated. You are not able to go do skydives with other people, but you can go totally on your own with no instructors. And one of the freakiest moments was exiting the plane and then realizing that the nearest person was either 10 seconds down or 10 seconds up.
Nice.
And that between there was nobody except me.
Yeah.
No one's going to save your life except you. Yeah. And by the time that thought runs through your head, you realize, oh wow, but I've already put myself in the right body position and I've already leveled out and I'm falling stable. And oh wow, I actually kind of know what to do. Okay, let's try a front flip. Whee! Okay, let's try a back flip. Woo! And then you realize, oh wow, actually, yeah, I can do anything.
Yeah.
You just need to take the time to learn and not rush it.
Yeah, that is powerful. So the basically, I mean, you're kind of like, as with anything, you start out by just breaking the fear, and then as it's developing, you're trying all the different things. Do you have what's your goal? What is like the next thing that you'd like to do that is taking some practice?
For me right now, or the goals that I had over time?
Let's go with right now. I want to see where you're at.
For right now, that's a hard one because I've actually nailed
all of them.
Well, not all of them, but all of the big goals that I set out for myself.
Yeah.
So actually, let me backtrack to those. So the big one for me initially was I want to skydive at Burning Man, and there's a camp called Burning Sky that puts all of this together. They take care of renting the jumper plane. They set up their camp. They do manifest. They get all the volunteers, and they have their own share.
Say manifest?
Manifest is basically the spot where you go and say, okay, I'm ready to get on the plane. Yeah. Put my name on the list. Yeah. Right?
Not like the hippie manifest. Like, okay.
Right. A little bit different. Yeah. This is manifest in the sense of when a plane goes up in the air, where is the list of people who should be on this plane? Yeah. That's a manifest. Yeah. Right? So Burning Sky puts all this together, and the people who run that camp are exactly the kind of people who work for fun. They bust so much ass to make this happen, and they do honestly such a great job with it. They're just such a great group of people, but they do have a couple of minimum requirements, because the reality is landing at the burn is definitely trickier than landing, well, really anywhere else, but let's just take here in San Diego. A couple examples. San Diego, you're coming in at 500 feet above sea level, which means the air is a certain level of density. And in San Diego, the wind is going in a very predictable direction. So you know which direction you want to be going when you land. Yeah. At the burn, the wind kind of changes direction a lot. And it kind of changes speed a lot. Also, you're at 4,000 feet above sea level, which means unless you normally skydive in Denver, you're going to come in fast.
Wow.
Your landing speed is going to be a lot faster than you're used to.
So that's not 120 miles per hour?
So 120 is free fall speed.
Okay.
Once you're under canopy, it's more like 20.
Okay.
It's it's a lot more manageable. And when you come into land, we're not jumping these old circular or what are called round parachutes, like from the old days in the Army. You can't steer those. Yeah. Right? You're just going to come straight down, and if the wind blows you, it blows you, and tuck and roll on landing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Before you know it, you're at like 9:30 ND.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You have no control.
Yeah. And you got to walk through the city with the parachute.
Right. Yeah. But now, modern parachutes are what are called ram air canopies. They're rectangular, and most importantly, they're steerable. So you can turn left, you can turn right, and you can brake, or what's called flare. Yeah. So when you come into land, you do your flare at the last second, 10 feet above the ground, and you bring yourself to a nice slow stop and just kind of plop. There you are on the ground, safe and sound, no problem. Yeah. But you do the same thing out on the playa, you're going to come in fast. And if you're not proficient enough at landing, you eat it hard.
Ooh.
And I've seen some people eat it hard, and this year I had one landing actually that I tumbled on.
Yeah.
There are people at the burn who are very good skydivers who have broken bones on landing.
Wow.
One year, a guy broke both his ankles coming in fast.
God.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is not without its fair share of dangers. And so that's why I get back to Burning Sky's got a couple of minimum requirements. And one of those requirements is you must have 100 solo skydives.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, we're not really sure that you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Even if you have 100, you still may not know what you're doing. But the number of jumps you have is a very good pegboard for, okay, where are you? Do you have 10? Do you have 100? Do you have 1,000? Do you have 10,000?
How many did you have when you did it at the burn?
112.
Okay.
So the thing is, I got into skydiving and then went to my second burn, and I had 20 jumps. And so I knew I couldn't jump there. Yeah. No question about it. Not even a question. But I went up to Burning Sky and I said, "Hi, I'm Mark. I've got 20 jumps. I'm not here asking to jump. I just wanted to see if I can help with anything. I think you guys are awesome." And they said, no, we got it covered. It's okay. But you want to get on a plane? And so then I found out the other thing that Burning Sky does. Their gift to the city as a whole is plane rides. Because a lot of people hear about, if you go to the airport, maybe you can get a ride on a plane. Well, mostly that's just pilots who are like, yeah, sure, whatever, I'll take you.
Yeah.
If you've got tits, then they're more likely to take you. But that's just pilots just kind of deciding, oh, yeah, sure, whatever, right? But Burning Sky
I have man boobs. I guess I might be able to get a ride.
Gotta find the right pilot.
Yeah.
But
not too hard at the burn.
But Burning Sky specifically gives away rides on the jumper plane. And they call you a Firefly, right? So you show up at the Burning Sky camp. Usually on Wednesday and Thursday, they do a lottery for free tickets on the plane. And they'll put you on the same plane with skydivers. And the thing is, because you're in a jumper plane, specifically in a plane where the door is going to open, you have to put on a rig.
Wow.
You're not jumping out.
Yeah.
But the only way to strap in is to put on an actual skydiving harness, get in the plane, and strap yourself into the plane. You get up to altitude, the door opens, and all the actual skydivers on the plane pile out the door. And then you're sitting there looking at this open door going, oh, wow. Oh, my God. What happens next? And the pilot pulls the little rope from way up in the front. The door shuts closed and then nosedive for the ground.
Do they warn you that this is going to happen?
Oh, of course not. You're just sitting there with your back towards the front of the plane. So you're looking towards the back of the plane. You just saw these people jump out head first, and all of a sudden, you're falling backwards on a roller coaster.
Oh, my God.
You will never be in a plane that aims for the ground so quickly as when it is a skydiver pilot who's trying to get the next load up in the air.
Holy shit.
So you barrel towards the ground and then, pulls out and levels off at the last second and then comes in, does the landing. It really is like being on an insane roller coaster.
Yeah.
Just riding in the plane, not even jumping.
That's... I'm imagining myself totally shitting my pants if that actually happened.
Yeah.
They'd have to clean that up.
That's why typically Burning Sky's right across from the portos.
Oh my God.
Just in case.
That is terrifying. It's almost like there's I imagine the rest of the week goes pretty awesome. If you have this like pant shitting experience, you come out even, tougher.
Oh yeah,
the rest of the time.
It's quite the pick me up.
Yeah. So tell me about your jump.
Well, so this was still my second burn where I was not qualified to jump. I just saw everybody leave the plane, and I'm wearing an actual skydiving parachute. Yeah. And I'm sitting there going, don't take your seatbelt off, don't take your seatbelt off, don't take your seatbelt off, stay sitting down, sit down, nope, you're not going anywhere, and then, whoop, door closes. Oh, good, I'm not going to screw it all up. And then the plane dies, we have a great time. And I leave that year with my resolve redoubled. Like, yes, I want to do this is going to be great, I got to make it happen.
Yeah.
And so I got back to San Diego, kept doing my skydives, and then it was the following year, 2013, I finally had over 100. I had purchased my own equipment, and I'd met all the check boxes. Okay, I can do it. And I got to the burn, met up with the Burning Sky crew. I should mention, by the way, that they're very good about not charging anything when you're at the burn.
Yeah.
But let's not kid ourselves. Plane fuel is very expensive.
Yeah.
And renting a plane, when you tell the owner that you're going to go to the playa, is not cheap.
Yeah.
So what they do is if you're going to jump...
It's not like the U-Hauls where they have no idea where it goes. Like, oh, why is it so dusty?
Right. It's more like, no, this is a real plane, and no, they know where you're going.
Yeah. Going to the desert.
It's not a secret. So what they do is they have people who are going to skydive there sign up well in advance. And we actually do pitch in a bunch of money for... basically our tokens that each token gets you a jump, right? And it doesn't really matter how many tokens you end up using. No, you don't get your money back. We kind of still had to buy all this fuel and haul it out here, right?
So you buy that ahead of time?
Yes.
Before the burn?
Before the burn.
Okay.
So it's all sent in ahead of time. It's very well organized. And then you show up at the burn, and they've already got your name on a list. They have your tokens in a little Ziploc baggie. Fill out these forms, listen to this briefing. I mean, they really have the operation dialed in.
Yeah.
But the reality is, hey, listen, you're here as a skydiver. Getting to skydive out of this plane is a fun thing that you're doing. what you pitched in the money for is for us to be able to gift plane rides to the city.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so at that point, you also get exposed to the fact that, okay, you've got 5 jump tokens, but you're only going to get to use 4 of them.
Mm.
Well, yeah, you can use that 5th one. Give it to a firefly.
Yeah.
So if you run into someone while you're out there at the burn that's just, wow, oh my god, a plane ride? How do I do that? Well, you can give them your extra token. They can go get a firefly ride. You know, obviously they're not jumping. But you can gift someone else that experience without being the person who brought the plane.
Mm.
And that's a really powerful experience to help people have.
Yeah, that's really beautiful.
So my first year jumping, I think I got 8 tokens. I used 6 of them, and I gifted 2 or 3 of them out. And honestly, gifting the tokens was my favorite part. Even though, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. 6 skydives at Burning Man, that was pretty damn awesome.
Yeah.
But the couple people that I got to put on the plane just for a ride, the shit-eating grin on their faces when they got off the plane was worth the entire week.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really beautiful. I had a campmate who was, I think, gifted a token. I don't know if they followed through with it. I mean, what happens to the token? It just doesn't get used, I imagine.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if it doesn't get used, it doesn't get used. Yeah. Sorry.
What hours are they flying usually? What time to what time?
Typically, they're going from, I want to say it's 10, but it's probably more like 11 a.m. until sunset. Because once the sun goes down, then it's officially a night jump, and there's very different rules that apply, and it gets a lot harder.
Yeah.
But basically, sunlight hours, once everyone's awake and ready to actually deal with random people on the playa.
And then, can you do tandem jumps out there?
Yes, technically, it could be possible. It's not really been done.
Okay.
And the main issue is when you're going there as a skydiver, you have to bring your own equipment, right? Tandem parachutes cost a lot more money than even just a normal parachute rig.
Yeah.
They're a lot bigger, there's a lot more fabric, there's a lot more certification that has to go into them.
So somebody would have to put in some serious planning into that.
Yeah. I mean, the number that I've heard thrown around is that a tandem rig costs $14,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what's a regular rig?
If you're getting it used, around 4. If you're getting it new, around 8.
Wow. Yeah, that's a huge difference.
Yeah. So, I mean, just going solo out there, we're really talking a heavy cash investment, right? I mean, if there's not really any two ways about it. I know some people who've done Kickstarters to try and fund their rigs. They don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
This is a sport that if you want to do it, you need to save up your own money, work your ass off, and get it.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of people who buy a tandem rig without owning a skydiving company. And so if you own a skydiving company, you want to take my parachute where? No, piss off.
Yeah.
So there are a few people, there are tandem instructors who go out there, right? But typically they're just kind of doing their own thing. Mainly because just getting the tandem rig is a process in and of itself. There's also a lot of other FAA regulations and things around tandems. So there's hoops to jump through. It is possible, though. But it's on the level of difficulty that it hasn't been done. And although there have been discussions about it, it would need to take someone with a lot of cash to burn and the time to invest into making it happen.
Yeah. That is a really, really beautiful thing. That's really interesting. I didn't know that the gift specifically was the plane ride, because ultimately it's up to you. You're the one that's responsible for you. Like if you show up not sober, for example, like, hey, that's on you, buddy.
No. So actually, the soberness is a very important point.
Yes, that's what I meant. It's a very important point, and they check things like that.
Yes. If you show up not sober to Burning Sky, they will turn you away.
What did they do to check?
it's not a thorough checking, right? I mean, it's not like they breathalyze you when you get on the plane.
Yeah.
But so to give an example, this year I was volunteering at Burning Sky for a couple shifts, and I did a lot of work at basically the sign-up table, right? Where we got people who wanted to get on the plane, and maybe they were already gifted a token, and they basically have a ticket onto the plane. Or maybe they don't, they're there for the lottery, whatever. Well, we had a gentleman and his wife show up with a token, you know, they basically had their ticket onto the plane, but they were holding cans of beer.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's not a judgment call. It's not an, oh, well, you seem okay. Yeah. No, it's an FAA regulation. If we knowingly let you on the plane, the pilot can lose his license forever. Mm-hmm. There's real things at stake. So, no, if you show up visibly inebriated, fuck off.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what all the organizers train everyone else to say. No, you've got a beer in your hand, come back tomorrow.
Okay. You don't actually say fuck off. You just
well, no, actually, the lady who runs Manifest, Gray.
Yeah. She'll say fuck off.
Oh, she tells everyone to fuck off. I love her. She's amazing.
Yeah. It's almost a compliment at this point.
Oh, it is. No, and it's and she's very clear. It's not anything personal.
Yeah.
It's not that we don't like you. Just fuck off. Come back tomorrow. You have a beer in hand. You're going to fuck all of our lives up permanently. Yeah. Just because you have a beer.
Now,
so go
correct
away.
me if I'm wrong, but I feel like for the most part, people would be pretty cool about stuff like that.
In what sense?
In like, they show up and you say, all right, well, we want to just make sure that you're sober. And they're like, oh, okay, well, I just took something. And I know the meaning of life, so I'll just come back tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. No, typically when we have to tell someone, hey, listen, dude, no, we do need you sober. Please come back tomorrow. Yeah. The vast majority of the time, they're like, okay, my bad. I didn't know. I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's typically not that big a deal. But again, with the random population you get, there's always going to be someone who throws a shit fit about it and is like, no, come on, let me on the plane. I'm fine. Oh, no, that's not my beer. What are you talking about? I found it on the ground. Yeah. It doesn't matter. And that's the point at which, like, oh, you're a volunteer helping at the desk? No. Turns over to Gray, the lady who runs the place, and that's where she'll tell people to fuck off. It's like, no, dude, you have no concept of what you're endangering by by insisting that you get on this plane. I'm insisting that you come back tomorrow.
Yeah. I love you. Fuck off.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Listen, I gotta tell you, I'm I don't know about you, but I'm pretty impressed with the structure of this interview so far. I mean, we really started out in the beginning. We got into your introduction, we got into fire spinning, and it all came back around with you as a skydiver going and doing it at the burn. So
there we go.
This is it almost is starting to sound like we know what we're doing on this show. I mean,
fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah. Oh, we're doing very, very well as far as that's concerned. But thank you so much for joining us and telling us your story. And it's been really awesome. And I think I don't know about the listeners, but I learned a whole bunch of interesting shit. So
well, yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So if people want to find you or get a hold of you, should they come to a regional? Is there a contact info you'd like to share?
So to get a hold of me specifically, especially about these topics, I put up a website about this called burninghellion.com. Hellion spelled Helyan. It's without digressing too much, it was a name that was given to me a long, long time ago. Turned into one of my burner names. And then I found out that the original owner of the name Hellion, spelled that way, was Sir Hellion the White, one of the Knights of the Round Table.
Nice.
I heard that and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm keeping that. That's pretty good.
Fucking, that's super badass.
so burninghellion.com or I think the other one I have up is hellionimagery.com. Okay. I made a video of my first year skydiving at the burn. That's gotten, I think, upwards of about 10,000 YouTube views now. Yeah. So in the big world of YouTube, it's not much, but for me, it's like, ooh, yes, I did so good.
10,000's good. 10,000 good.
But so there's a video about that, and there's my email address on there. I'm always happy to answer questions for anybody who's interested. Yeah. But, you know, if it comes to the fire thing or the skydiving thing, the real answer is find your local group. Fire can be harder to find, but, you know, through the burner community, there's always somebody doing it. And skydiving is really easy. I mean, literally just Google skydive in the name of your town and find the nearest drop zone. Yeah. It's actually surprisingly easy to get into. And it's not for everybody. Yeah. But I do encourage everyone to go do one tandem skydive just to cross it off the bucket list. There's a lot of folks who say, oh, well, I'll do it one day. Okay. How about Saturday?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Is there a weight limit?
There is. Typically, the weight limit is 230 pounds.
Okay.
And
that's just under that.
You're all good.
Yeah.
Typically, what'll happen is if they think, well, maybe you're on the limit, they'll put you on a scale. Mm-hmm. And again, it's one of those things. It's nothing personal. Yeah. It's just the parachute's only rated for so much. Yeah. And we want you to not die. Yeah. So
we love you. Here's a salad.
Exactly. Yeah. But no, I actually had a really good friend who came with me on my very first tandem skydive who was over 230. And so he went on a diet and sucker ate salad for 2 months. And when he went in for the weigh-in, he was 229. Yeah. So they let him on.
That's
so
beautiful.
It's absolutely accomplishable. Anybody can do it. And I think that everybody should do it. Yeah. And if you land after your first one, you're like, cool, that's it. I'm done. I don't need to do that ever again. That's fine. But you did it once, and that's what counts.
That's beautiful. BurningHellion.com. That's a lot of amazing information. I'm going to date myself here for a second. I don't suppose you remember that song that Brandy did with Monica in like the 90s, The Boy Is Mine?
Yes, I'm familiar with it, although that's not my genre of music. But yes.
Well, it was impossible to miss. Like Brandy and Monica ruling. Yeah.
I'm familiar with it.
I remember after hearing that, my immediate thought was, why would Brandy do a song with Monica? Because Monica's voice just completely obliterated Brandy's. And I mean, Brandy was, a very successful pop star, but Monica had like the voice. I feel like that a little bit right now because you have this perfect radio voice and I just happen to be the one that's hitting record. So yeah, no, you really do. If you really want to start like your own podcast about skydiving and or a lot of the subjects you're talking about and your delivery is impeccable, I really do think you should look into that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
It's something to do.
Yeah, the most I've ever gone with that is doing the voice PBX systems for call-in things. Yeah. So, you've reached the Burner Podcast.
That's fantastic.
To reach Arash, press 1.
Yeah, that's oh my god! If I'm number 1, that means we haven't made it anywhere. Producer Meg's gonna be number 1.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a really blast.
Yeah, thanks again.
All right. All right, you made it. You made it through another show. Look at you. You're a winner. Thanks to Marc Leglise for joining us. Such an awesome time with that guy. You can tweet me directly at Mr. Arash. That's MRARASH. You can do it right there on the Twitter place. And then when discussing the show, please do use the hashtag Burner Podcast. Leave some reviews on iTunes. If you're so inclined, that would be cool of you. Or not. Be a dick. See if I care. Our intermission music is by Duckman. Check out more of his music at duckmansd.bandcamp.com. And if you're a musician in the community, send us a link to your stuff using the contact page, burnerpodcast.com, and we'll try to share it. Burner Podcast theme song is America's Horse with No Name remix produced by Joman. Check out all of his amazing music at soundcloud.com/DJ Joman. That's spelled DJJOMAN. This episode is produced by Meg King. If you have questions or suggestions for future guests, shoot them over to Meg. She is on Twitter as well, at @MegKing. I keep wanting to say .com for that for some reason. Our online editor is Alpi. She writes and curates the blog, the Burner Podcast blog, and she can be reached on Twitter at @Burner_podcast. The underscore is very important. Use the underscore or you will be tweeting some Australian record label and a dingo will eat your fucking baby. Or as always, you can just use the contact form at burnerpodcast.com. Hope you'll join us next time. We release new episodes on the first and third Wednesdays of the month. Until next time, love and light and all that other crap. Good night.